Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. Happy Chinese New Year to you, Steve.
Yes, Year of the Dragon. Happy Chinese New Year to everyone.
Absolutely. And it should all be a good year and should be a fascinating year too. Not just for us, but for everyone. So we're going to have a bit of, a bit of fun with this episode because there's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure we'll just be sort of like starting a springboard for discussion, if anything else, because there's so much you could cover with this particular topic. But the idea of the backyard scientist, the one that, can, the old Doc Brown or...
We love them.
Yeah, that's right. You're making their time machines in the backyard.
Or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, or Weird Science too.
Weird Science is a personal favourite.
Making the Perfect Woman. Or one of the recent ones, and I only like it because of the title, Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh, I like that. I've not seen it, but that sounds like a favourite.
Oh, absolutely. But it's as things go along, and I guess you'd almost call it the democratisation of science, really, isn't it? That kind of thing where anyone can sort of, as we were discussing before, can sort of order sort of genetic components or DNA components, and they can start, assembling things away.
It's amazing, Ben. This is proof that we have well and truly entered the tech age now. So if you think back to the first generation of machines that we saw spring up during the 20th century, very expensive, very high tech, and you probably couldn't make them unless you were incredibly talented, for your scientific experiments.
And well funded, I would have thought.
and well funded, exactly. Bruce Wayne or Richard Branson, I think, kind of well funded. And, that sort of put an end to the home laboratory. And, there were many great things built in home laboratories back in the 19th century with their, telephones, typewriters, photographic paper, light bulbs, you name it. So we've gone through that era. But now those machines that, we saw in labs towards the end of the 20th century, they're at the end of their working life cycle. They've got new, more sophisticated machines still doing the same jobs, but more quickly or more accurately. So you can actually pick up a lot of this secondhand lab equipment on eBay. You can fully equip yourself, your backyard lab, less than a price of the car.
So just as a quick sidebar, and even though this is a little bit different, but we mentioned last year the old Swedish guy splitting atoms in his kitchen. I mean, this is along the same lines? I mean, obviously he might have had a few issues with that because obviously he got the nuclear guys onto him and chasing him down. There's got to be I guess people have got to watch what they do with this sort of stuff because it's not like assembling computer parts or making a sort of standard machine, is it?
Well, that's absolutely right. Now, if you were out there building a flux capacitor, as far as I know, there's no law against that. However, there are laws against, how you might genetically modify, things that you find in the backyard, anything from some corn you're growing in your own plot, right through to some bacteria that you find, living in your bathroom. Likewise, you're not just allowed to go out there and build rockets because governments have laws about airspace. But, and backyard scientists have to be mindful of that because, there are risks associated with any sort of research, and that's why we have specially controlled labs. But otherwise, go for it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You would think that there'd be a lot of some sort of interesting applications that people could put to these things, discoveries that could be made that maybe, doesn't necessarily have to be done in an official lab or something like that. I was attracted to this term biohacking that you'd sent through to me. Sounds quite nefarious, but it's kind of, in a sense, like it's like a backyard biotechnologist kind of person, sort of getting all this stuff together. So I guess is it sort of like a computer hacker kind of person?
Well, I mean, hacker these days, let's hope, has some positive connotation. It's not always evil or wrong. And what these people were doing is basically reverse engineering. Is how we're talking about hacking. So, what they're doing is they're reverse engineering perhaps, some genetic codes in the backyard. Now, I don't want anyone to freak out about Frankensteins and that sort of thing, but you can quite conceivably do it as a hobby, build your own genetic sequences. You can certainly mail out for them. Once again, you might want to be careful of what sorts of genetic sequences you order if you don't want your door kicked in at 3 a.m. But it's possible. And this, if you really think about it, is a democratisation of science, as you've said, and it allows groups of people with an interest, just like people get together for gardening. These people can potentially get together and talk about, they might be mapping, certain species or types of things that they find in the garden. And with billions of species out there, this can help label, complete biosystems.
Well, the thing that interests me too about this sort of thing is, aside from the fact that it's sort of like a general theme with a lot of things that's happening with technology at the moment, in that it's putting a lot of the power of doing work that might have necessarily needed to have been funded or done at some sort of government or big corporate level. Obviously we've talked about films doing this, and that's like more an entertainment thing, but you see a lot of these sorts of things now starting to just sort of work their way into the hands of your everyday Joe on the street kind of thing, and they're able to do all of this stuff. And you're just wondering, with the conflux of all of this coming together, and obviously the official guys doing their bit, how many advances are going to happen in the next 100 years that are just going to be totally astonishing and amazing, and what we could never even imagine. I mean, how far we've advanced now in the past couple of 100 years has been amazing anyway, but I just get the feeling that the next 100 years is going to be more like a quantum leap forward compared to what's been coming so far.
I completely agree. Look, I don't want to go back to the future on you, but it is a case of back to the future. As we spoke about, Edison, Alexander Bell, Tesla, basically worked in home workshops. They were well resourced, but they created their own machines. They created their own components, their own parts to basically, invent all these amazing things. And we've gone from just not being able to afford or resource ourselves to do it as individuals or solo individuals, now again to being able to do it because the technology's there, it's cheap and it's available. But we've got something even more powerful now, which is called the internet. So I can find somebody else who's working in a backyard on the same thing as me. Mm-hmm. I can tell them what worked for me and what didn't. They can tell me the same. And before you know it, we've got a whole research network.
Yeah, and then they could do a vodcast and set up Facebook pages and communicate and do chats.
Well, they certainly could, and you're right. Out of that, you can expect to see some really amazing research, provided people have good scientific method. It doesn't matter, how you approach or what your resources are. Good scientific method, good reasoning, and if you're prepared to share your results in an open and fair manner with your peers, then there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's the great thing about the internet, is that as long as it stays out of the absolute control of anyone or any interest, then I guess this sort of thing is permissible, I guess, in a sense, that you can get out there and get your stuff out there without having. I guess it's sort of a double-edged sword too, because you get your genuine people going out and obviously offering what they've discovered, and maybe they're being quite good at it, but then you'll get some nutters out there that'll put some absolutely whack job stuff out there, and then you'll get people who are just outright got no idea, who are putting stuff up there, and then it just becomes a question of filtering through what actually is good, what's bad, what's funny to watch.
Absolutely. Just as a note on the side there about the nutters, I wouldn't be too worried about them working solo at home alone. I don't think they can come up with anything too nasty. I'm more concerned probably about some of the clandestine laboratories which the government tells us don't exist.
Oh, okay. I was thinking nutters that that you'd find on I don't know, Funniest Home Video Show or something. The ones that you can't believe they did that.
Well, there's still guys working in backyards now telling you they can run motor cars on tap water. I hope most of us are advanced enough to know that's not true. But there are some great things that you can do. Basically, if you're home resourced, and that and sharing the knowledge is fantastic. And that's got everything to do with everything from astronomy, exactly as you've said. With people who see or take images of supernovae exploding, that are perhaps missed because they happen obviously by chance, and sharing that right through to people who look at the literally billions of subspecies of bacteria. If we can DNA barcode all of the species on the planet, and we've only done a small proportion over the last 200 years, we get a much better understanding of biodiversity and the way life works on this planet. So we can all participate and do something fantastic. And hopefully some of us will build flux capacitors, cloaks of invisibility, and levitation machines.
No, that's because that's what we all need, isn't it? Absolutely. But just to round it out now, and just to finish up, does that mean with the rise of these sort of backyard scientist types and and I guess this applies to so many other fields, does that mean that the official establishment types are going to have to sort of make a bit of room for a bit of this? Is their influence not going to be as it was? I mean, obviously we'll still have an influence, but with so many other voices starting to come up.
I think whoever engages will have to go with the rules and regulations. So basically money and I guess a location to practice whatever it is you're researching has always been the sort of stumbling block for most, and only universities or big companies could provide that. But now I think, provided there's some clear rules, and then there are very clear rules governing a lot of what you can and can't do, as long as everyone adheres to them, then there should be no stumbling block, and you shouldn't have to pay license fees or anything. You should just be able to go for it.
Or as in the time and memorial, if someone out there creates something fantastic, that big corporate will just swoop in and buy them out.
Well, that's right. And that's happened to many a backyard scientist, or at least we're led to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, Steve, that might be a good place to finish up. So thanks again for the chat. It's fascinating to talk about this stuff, and should be interesting to see. I mean, we're obviously going to be covering a lot of science stuff as we go forward with FiST Chat. So it'll be good to see if we can see some of this stuff come to fruition this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll follow it up. If anyone out there is a backyard scientist, tweet us, let us know. We'd love to hear what you've got in your kit and what you're doing out there as well.
And we may even feature it as well.
We will. We'll peer review it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can visit there and get all our links, videos, MP3s, and all of that. And we'll have some blogs up in the next day or two on what we've been talking about today. So that's it for this week's episode. So we'll catch you next week.